Welcome back to Movies on the Focus, the podcast where we dissect cinematic masterpieces, one questionable plot point at a time. I'm your host, Bob, and with me as always, is the insightful and ever so slightly sarcastic, Alice.
Thanks, Bob. And by slightly sarcastic, you mean constantly pointing out the absurdity of human behavior as depicted on screen. But hey, someone's gotta do it. So, what cinematic gem are we dissecting today?
Today, Alice, we're diving headfirst into the glorious, gritty, and occasionally nauseating world of Trainspotting.
Ah yes, Trainspotting, 1996, a year when dial-up was cutting edge, and heroin chic was a thing. Directed by the wonderfully inventive Danny Boyle, a man who clearly enjoys a good visual metaphor.
Indeed, the film's a whirlwind, isn't it? Nominated for an Oscar, boasting a whopping 23 wins and 35 nominations, proving that sometimes, even critics love a good dose of chaotic realism. And the ratings? An impressive 8.1 on IMDb, a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and an 83 on Metacritic. Clearly a critical darling, even if it involved a lot of questionable life choices.
Let's not forget the iconic scenes. The toilet scene, of course, a cinematic masterpiece of visceral filmmaking. And who could forget the running sequence? Pure adrenaline. The movie is a wild ride, a visual roller coaster through the underbelly of Edinburgh. The performances are phenomenal, particularly Ewan McGregor, really carrying the whole thing.
Absolutely. McGregor is brilliant, as is the whole cast. The chemistry between the actors is undeniable. They made those characters so incredibly believable, even when those characters were making incredibly poor life decisions. The movie's runtime is only 93 minutes, but it feels like a lifetime of experiences crammed into that short period, doesn't it?
It does. And the soundtrack, absolutely killer. It perfectly complemented the chaotic energy of the film. What I particularly appreciated was how unflinching it was in its depiction of addiction and its consequences. It wasn't glorifying, but it was realistic.
Precisely. It's a film that stays with you, even if you desperately want to forget certain parts. A truly unforgettable cinematic experience. So, Alice, final thoughts on Trainspotting? Would you recommend it?
Would I recommend it? Yes, but with a caveat. If you're not prepared for a pretty intense and unflinching look at drug addiction and the consequences, maybe give it a miss. Otherwise, it's a must-see, a cultural landmark.
Perfectly put, Alice. That's all the time we have for today's episode of Movies on the Focus. Join us next time as we delve into another cinematic adventure. Until then, happy watching.